Hi, there is Bibi Cameron, and today I'm going to be using Adore You stamp set by Altenew. I have shared a coloring technique in several occasions, and this is another card I have made with that technique that I love very much. It's very easy, but I love watercoloring, and I spend a lot of time when I'm doing it because it's something I enjoy and it's something that relaxes me. So today I want to share some tips with you, and I found this stamp set perfect because it's going to help me easily to identify the areas of the image in which I need to apply darker colors. If you see the image, some of the petals has some lines or shadowing, and there is where I'm going to apply the darker shades of color. And I'm going to be using 3 flowers in the set. This one here, that one, and this small one here. I'm going to use antique lining distress ink to stamp the flowers on a piece of watercolor paper. And I'm also going to stamp some leaves using one of the leaves stamp in the set. I just found this stamp to be the perfect size for this, so I'm going to use this one. And if I don't want to stamp the whole image, with my finger I clean the stamp before stamping like so, and then I have a partial image. I'm not going to be worried about that because I can fill that with color, and then I keep going. Today I'm going to be using Nuvo Aqua brushes. These brushes has inside a little valve or like a part there, I don't know how to say that in English, and this controls the water flow. Another aqua painters are different, and I like the way the water flows through the brushes. It's not a lot of water, it's just a little bit. And I also like the nips of the brushes because if you see here, the brushes are different sizes, and Nuvo Aqua brushes are quite thinner. So I found that better to add some details on certain kind of images. However, the aqua painters are awesome as well. So any of these brushes will do a great job. I also keep a container or a glass with water, and I simply fill my aqua brush with water like so. And when coloring, you don't need to apply a lot of pressure on the aqua brush, you just need to leave the water to flow along, okay? To add color to the flowers, I'm going to be blending 3 ink colors. I'm going to start by applying a wash of pink pirouette ink color. So I drop some water there and I mix the ink with that water to easily apply it on the petals. So here I'm applying ink all over the petals, and I'm being careful of not touching the lines or the edges of the petal. I went a bit over the edge of these petals here, so these 2 petals blend together. I don't want that to happen with these petals here, and what I'm going to do is allow this one to dry and then add color to the next petal. And I will do the same with all the flowers in the card. And no worries, I can fix that because I'm using light inks. Would be a little bit more challenging to fix this if I were using darker inks, but it's also possible to fix it. Watercolor is very forgiving. So now I'm going to apply the ink in another petals. In those petals I didn't apply the ink before, and I'm not going to wait for this to dry. I'm just going to start applying a darker ink. This is rose red, and I'm going to apply it like so, like an U shape. I'm pressing a little bit the aqua brush so I get some water there, you see. And you will find that the ink is going to find a way through those water drops. So the ink is going to burst and it's going to be like walking on the paper only where it's wet. So I'm going to do that with all the petals. It's just applying a U shape and doing exactly the same. And I'm not adding color in the whole petal if you notice. It's just in the base of the petals. And I will complete the coloring of each petal with a second or third color wash. So I dry this, and if you notice, I apply the ink in some petals and in others no, because I want these petals to be very well defined. So now when the ink is dry, I can apply the ink in the next petals like so. And I'm going to keep a little white edge there. I'm not going to go over the whole petal. I'm going to respect that space between petals. So I guarantee that, if you see there, I guarantee that my petals has a shape. And as I'm going to do the same with all the petals here, just respecting that white edge between petals and applying color in an U shape, like so, I'm going to speed the camera. Do not forget that if you apply a lot of water, you can use a towel and lift that water out of the paper. And to avoid warping the paper, what I do is to apply heat from one side of the paper and then turn it around and apply heat there. So I keep my paper flat. Now I'm going to use a lighter ink to complete the coloring of each individual petal. And you can also mix and blend the inks to complete the petals as well. I just like that color contrast even inside one single petal. So here I'm showing you a closer look at these petals. If you see the seams I have created with the washes of colors within the same petal. This is completely optional. You just can go with one wash and you will finish this card in 5 minutes. You can also soften those seams using a lighter ink on top, but you still get the contrast. So after coloring the whole thing, this is what you are going to get. Now I'm going to add some fire to this composition. I just was watching The Boys and I saw this guy saying that what you need is fire. That's what you need when you are creating things. You need that element that make the things like go boom, wow, nice. And I choose mustard seed distress ink to do that. And I'm going to apply the ink over the petals like so. And when you are doing this, you are going to notice that the brush is going to lift the red pigmentation from previous color washings. So all you have to do is to keep cleaning your brush so that you are going to get that yellow intensity. And to make these colors to coordinate all completely, I'm going to add this yellow ink to the leaves. And then is the time to add shadows or contrast. You can just leave your project like that, or you can go until wherever you want. To add shadows, I'm going to use this brush. It's a round tip brush, number 4. And with the brush, I'm going to apply ink on the stamp like so. And I'm going to rescue those details that I took off with the watercoloring, like so. So I get some shadows there. I can also go over using just the brush, like so. Or if you are those picky stampers, you can also use your Misty and stamp over. I'm going to use Memento ink. This is a black ink to stamp with the Misty. So I'm going to get more sharp pastels there. And let's see how that looks. And the good thing about the Misty is that if you don't get that image very well defined, you can just stamp over again, and that's what I'm going to do to see what happened. I'm kind of experimenting at the same time and making this video, so I can share with you more and more and more ideas. And I kind of like the results, so I'm going to stamp all the flowers the same way, and I'm going to show you how that looks at the end. I kind of like the idea of stamping over watercolor image. You can also stamp with memento black ink by hand, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And I add a little bit of more contrast with a brown ink, like so. I apply in here and there. Do not ask me why, but I want to stamp over the leaves again. I'm not losing the yellow color because the yellow color is going to be there anyway. And I'm also going to add some green color to the leaves. I accidentally stamped the leaf over one petal, and to fix that I just apply more color on the petal like so. And that's it. It's fixed. And to finish this image, I decided that I wanted to add some distress ink at the edges. This is black soot ink, distress ink. And I just apply the ink like so. I made this other card by applying the same technique I just applied today. And I'm also going to add some details to the flowers using an uniball white pen, like so. I'm just randomly drawing with the pen some lines here and there on the petals and on the leaves. Then with a Nuvo shimmer brush, I add glitter to these flowers. So that's how I do it. That's my image. I just spread some water as well to get some water splashes over that image. And I'm going to do a final tint because I really like to do that. I'm going to grab my sewing machine and I'm going to add a stitched frame to this image. I like to make jokes because this is kind of magic. You see, the machine do the work for you. You only need to keep the needle down when you rotate the paper in the corners, and the machine will sew a straight stitch. And this is how I mounted the image. I also added some sequins and also glossy accents drops and a banner. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel, visit my blog for more ideas and inspiration, or join my social network. All the links are listed in the video description. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye!